Warner Brothers had quite the task ahead of itself in getting the DC extended universe off the ground, especially as the studio was lagging behind compared to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Kevin Feige got the latter off and running with Iron Man in 2008, but it wasn't until 2013 that the DCEU staked a claim and took its formative identity with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. This has led to fans consistently bickering that this head start is what has allowed the MCU to cover more ground and come off as the better of the two. However, in addition to having to catch up, there were some other questionable decisions made internally by the DCEU which may have slowed its progress. So here are 10 dumb decisions which have been made by the DCEU. Man of Steel did a really great job of setting things up so that people in this world would fear and of course grow to hate such powerful beings like Superman. But such cynicism was not a proper reason to rush this feud, whether it be comics or animated movies. This fight needs to feel organic, like it's the right place and right time. We didn't have a Batman yet in the DCEU, so to just introduce us to this darker, grittier Batman who wanted Superman dead felt too hasty. This showdown was inevitable, but should have happened over the course of a few movies, or maybe after they formed the Justice League and fell out. One movie in and it didn't feel like Snyder had enough substance to pit the two against each other. Sure, Bruce Wayne lost a lot, but despite his recklessness, Superman did save the world. The worst thing that the DCEU did was to lose confidence in Zack Snyder and make changes on the fly, removing him from the game completely. This caused an unexpected fracturing of the DCEU fanbase. There were critics of the first two DCEU movies that hated the movie's grim and dark tone, saying they betrayed their characters. However, when the DCEU changed course, the Snyder Cut fans arose, and it seems they were loud enough to get that version of Justice League made. Now, two distinct fan bases want different type of DC movies, which has hurt the franchise as a whole. Talking of wildly incorrect interpretations of characters, Batman is another noteworthy character Zack Snyder seemed to completely misunderstand. We've seen big screen versions of the Caped Crusader dish out brutal justice. While there's a precedent in the comic books for him using a gun, the filmmaker took things too far. Still, while Ben Affleck's Batman was clearly supposed to be a man on the edge after years protecting Gotham City, it was horrible to watch him blatantly kill people. That workhouse action scene was superbly shot. But a Dark Knight who blows people up with grenades and shoots them isn't one we can really root for. It says a lot that Batman's solution to deal with Superman was to find a way to kill the Man of Steel. If it's one thing that DCU could have borrowed from the MCU, it's how they set their foundations up for ensemble movies. DCEU started throwing its comic trinity at fans, from Batman vs Superman, but it was a lot to take in so quickly. Fans didn't have time to build emotional connections in such a short space of time, which made it tough for them to appreciate the characters' drive and chemistry. The DCEU should have laid down solo films before the League assembled, so that when they came together, we would know and understand everyone's motivations and aspirations. Everything currently seems to be operating in reverse, with the team up first, followed by a peek into the League's solo outings. This means fans will have to constantly be switching gears regarding when and where we are in the heroes' lives. While the Snyder Cut fans loved the early movie, there was almost universal disdain for the Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice came out. The biggest complaints came with the portrayal of Superman. Most DC fans at the time of the movie release complained that this was not Superman, neither the optimism of Christopher Reeve or the pure and true character from the comics. Zack Snyder turned Superman into a moping emo superhero, and many longtime fans rebelled. The MCU has its formula, and it's working well enough, but the DCEU is doing its own thing. While Zack Snyder's aesthetic gave this universe a specific signature look, Wonder Woman showed why this wasn't the best approach. Snyder's films, while visually stunning in terms of action, lacked color, felt undercooked in its palette, and came off as a dour and lifeless, which reflected the grim world he was sculpting. Patty Jenkins' movie had a similar bleak setting, but it still celebrated a unique use of color into Diana's costume and Themyscira on the whole, which added a fresh and heroic atmosphere to the DCEU. She rectified Snyder's cold world, and in retrospect, he could have balanced things a little better. Suicide Squad wasn't a good movie, but it did feature some strong characters. Harley Quinn and Deadshot are obvious examples, and it's just a shame that Task Force X didn't get the opportunity to face a worthy big bad here. Instead, this movie was settled with Enchantress and her terrible CGI brother, a massive CGI creation who looked like he should be in a PS3 game. As she hulaed across the screen, Cara Delevingne delivered a comical performance, which was sadly meant to be completely serious, and the aforementioned reshoots meant that not even Joker arrived at this point in the film to spice things up, which was the original plan, with an incredible roster of characters, which also included the likes of Captain Boomerang and Katana. It's shocking that director David Ayer couldn't come up with a better villain, but it may not be entirely his fault. Since 2016, filmmaker has confirmed the movie was supposed to feature Justice League's Parademons before Warner Brothers unexpectedly changed course. The DCEU has a lot planned, but it appears to have focused on quantity over quality, struggling to nail the core characters down. Honestly, the ship only felt like it was in smooth waters with Wonder Woman. Fans are still divided on the adaptations of Superman and Batman after all, and now the slate is wider, with Batgirl, Nightwing, Gotham City Sirens, Harley Quinn spin-offs, a Suicide Squad sequel, Justice League Dark, and the Elseworld stories. The powers that be needed to crawl before they walk, and walk before they run. The MCU took its time to develop its core with Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, and then branched off. The DCEU seems reactive, throwing darts and hoping something lands, but it's still struggling to land directors and solid scripts. The foundation should really have been set first for the entire cinematic universe. Batman vs Superman established that Wonder Woman had been in hiding since World War I, hence why the entire subplot revolved around her trying to retrieve a photo from Lex Luthor. By the time Doomsday emerged, she happily decided to show her face again, something not even multiple wars convinced her to do, and failed to stop the Man of Steel from dying. Wonder Woman was a fun ride, of course, but Justice League further muddied the waters. Suddenly, Batman knew crucial details about her past, while the closing moments of the film randomly revealed Diana Prince was now happy to become a public figure. It all seemed like a somewhat random change of her heart for the character, and you have to wonder what Warner Brothers was thinking by not even trying to stick to the continuity they had created for the DCEU. Wonder Woman 1984 looks like will pose a similar problem, as the trailers have confirmed that she was heavily running through the White House and Washington DC decades ago, something which absolutely makes no sense considering the fact her existence was supposedly a secret in 2016. The worst thing the DCEU did was put Justice League into the hands of Joss Whedon to finish. This was not fair to Zack Snyder, who had his distinctive vision of the DCU, and it wasn't fair to Whedon, who had to finish a movie with orders to make changes. What resulted was an uneven movie, with bits of Snyder's vision and bits of Whedon's optimistic outlook for the characters, and nothing felt cohesive. This change in directors is what severed the DCEU fanbase.